Let's just check and see here. Yeah, I think we've got you all up on here. Great, fantastic. Thanks a lot both for joining, and great to meet you. And thanks for doing this workshop for the hackathon. So yeah, basically, I'm going to hand it over to you folks if you want to give like a brief introduction to yourself and what you're doing. And yeah, if you want to share your screen along the bottom, it's about the fifth icon along. There's a picture of a screen there. Either one of you can share. Just let me know which one it is, and I'll make sure it's live on the screen when you do it. So
Cool. Thanks so much. Can everyone hear me? Everything good?
I think so. I can certainly hear you.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, welcome everyone. I'm super excited to share a little bit about what we're building at Polybase and show you how easy it is to build Web3 applications on top of it. So my name is Sid Gandhi. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Polybase. We started almost exactly 1 year ago. The company was incorporated on May 2nd, which was yesterday. So quick anniversary shout out for us. And in that 1 year, we've done a lot of stuff. We raised our pre-seed last year. We launched our test net. We have over 200 projects building on Polybase now. And we're super excited to see what you all build. I'll basically go over what Polybase is, why we created it, and show you a little bit of the interface that developers use to create tables and applications. And then Shaki will dive into a specific use case and show you how you would build an NFT-gated chat app using Polybase. To start out, our mission is really about restoring our control over information. And by ours, I mean both like users, developers, and corporations, and anyone that produces the actual data that is used in our world today. And what we're very aware of is that information collection and exploitation basically permeates everything that we do these days. Politics, commerce, businesses, culture, everything is kind of controlled and routed through these data pipelines where people don't really own their data. They don't really have say over their data and how it's used. And so what's the solution there? It's really self-sovereign data and the ability to control and permission data in a way that makes sense and in a way that gives power to the people that actually own the data. And we're excited about what Protocol Labs is doing, obviously, because a lot of that mission is shared by Protocol Labs as well. And we're super excited, obviously, to have Protocol Labs investment in Polybase, as well as have them as partners, including in this hackathon. So that's kind of the connection there. And then kind of going from the mission to what we're actually building, our vision is to build a single database for the world where data is stored in a developer-friendly way that's self-sovereign, has features like end-to-end encryption, ZK proofs, wallet-based authentication to really create what we call the database for Web3. And that's kind of the theme, and that's kind of what we're solving for. So kind of like talking a little bit about the company in the background, we started about a year ago. Protocol Labs is one of our investors. Sixth Man Ventures is another investor. Orange DAO is another investor as well. They're basically helping us kind of create the ecosystem and find all these great use cases where people are building Web3 applications that need the kind of features that we're building. And so if you're coming from the Web2 world, or if you're coming from using something like Firebase or Postgres or MongoDB, what we found is a lot of those use cases require a bunch of additional services to be built on top. Things like wallet authentication, permissioning, so you end up writing some kind of ACLs or functions to do permissions. If you want to publish data publicly or verify it publicly, you have to build kind of the systems on top of that. If you want to do NFT or token-based authentication, there's a whole layer there. You may have to use some RPC providers and some APIs there. And what we found is it's actually really, really hard as a developer to integrate all these different technologies. Some of them are broken sometimes, some of them are outdated. And what we wanted to do is create a really streamlined experience for a developer coming in and building a Web3 app where it takes a couple clicks to spin up a collection, add rows to the collection, and then read that into your application. And so we kind of hide all of the complexity. You can go see it. It's a lot of Polybase is open source now. All of it will be open source in the future. But we kind of like streamline and simplify everything. I'll give you a couple examples of what developers are building today, and then I'll jump into the starting point for the developer experience for Polybase. So we've seen people building decentralized social applications. You can't build those fully on chain. If you tried, you would be spending tons of money and gas, and the user experience is not that good. What ends up happening is a lot of our customers have ended up in the past using Firebase or Postgres as their database and kind of having some decentralization plan. Well, that plan won't go anywhere unless they actually have a database that's decentralized to move to. And so we give them Web 2 like speed and performance and attributes, but with decentralization and public verifiability. We've seen people store dynamic NFT metadata. So for games, you can store metadata that updates once a second. Let's say you want to update based on XP or attacks or kills. You can update as fast as you want in Polybase. There's no transactions. There's no gas fees. It's just as fast as Firebase. We've seen people start to move over things in DeFi like DEX order books. So if you think about an order book, it's a list of bids and asks. Can't store that on chain and also have it performant and cheap. You have on-chain exchanges, and they're slow and you have to pay gas. And so we're kind of allowing DEXs to offboard their order book in a really efficient and verifiable way. And there's tons of other things, proof of reserves, collaborative oracles, self-sovereign, end-to-end encrypted applications, and things like that. So I'm going to share my screen now and kind of dive into some of the cool stuff we're building. Okay, so where do we sit in the dApp architecture today? So on one side, you have smart contracts, which are kind of like the compute layer, the business logic. So you have tokens and payments. And then you have things like file storage. So Filecoin is a good example of that. You would store images, videos, other kind of file-related data. But in terms of metadata, things like user profiles, who you're following, and things like that, we didn't really have a good solution until Polybase came along and solved that middle tier in a decentralized and performant way. So let's jump into the Explorer. So you can visit explorer.testnet.polybase.xyz, and it'll bring you here. You can kind of see some attributes about the current network. You can see the root hash, number of nodes we have online right now, number of collections we've created, and some other links here, as well as our changelog. We're going to log in here, and this is using Polybase authentication under the hood. I'm signing a request here in MetaMask to log in. Give me 1 second as I log in there. Okay, great, that's connected. And then I'm signing a sign-in message again here. We're signed in. Now you can see some of the applications that I've created. I'll show you how easy it is to create an app. You just go in here. You can name your app. We'll call it FVM metadata. Let's say we want to store some metadata about storage deals. We can create the app. You get presented with a example schema. And so you can kind of we give some documentation here, but you can also go to docs.polybase.xyz and learn more about this language, which is called Polylang. It's basically JavaScript with a couple decorators. Here you can also view, once you add data and rows to this collection, you'll be able to see them there. And then it's really simple to get started. Yarn install Polybase client, initialize the database, and now you can read and write using JavaScript or TypeScript. So it's really that simple. There's really nothing more the developer needs to do in order to get started. So I'll leave it here, and then I'll pass it on to Shaki, who's going to walk you through a full use case building a decentralized NFT-gated chat application. So it'll give you some other attributes of what we're building. So over to you, Shaki.
Thank you, Sid. Thanks for taking it over to me. Hey guys, hope you're all doing awesome. I'm sharing my screen here. Matt, where is the screen share here? The top arrow, right?
If you look along the bottom there, you should see a series of icons, and it's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th icon along. It's a picture of a screen.
Okay, got it.
Click on it, says add
Got
screen
it.
share. There you go.
Thank you.
If you do that.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not the
I
most
can
obvious icon.
yeah. Thank you. Cheers. Perfect. Cheers. Okay, guys. So here's the docs. So as Sid explained, Polybase Explorer is the way in which you get started while creating a collection. And so for the time purposes, I've already created the collection. I'm just logging in. I'll explain the collection and I'll explain how do you integrate that collection with your front end, right? So NFT chat app, I've already created chat app. So if you look at this is the collections here. Any data inside of Polybase lives inside of collection. You can imagine collection as like a database table, and you can define fields for those tables and set rules and permissioning around how you want that data to be used, right? So first thing, I have 4 collections in this overall collection. I've defined 4 different collections, which is so it's an NFT gated chat app, right? So we've defined a user collection. I'll just go over one collection so that you know how to define that, and I'll explain the other collection. So first is user collection, and for the user collection, and just creating collection user, and for any collection id is a mandatory field, right? And that you have to define id for all the collections. And for the user we also need the public key. We need to know who is signing the transaction from which wallet, so we need to get the public key, and I'm defining the public key here. And we have to define a constructor function. So any write request that happens in Polybase happens through the constructor function, or you can define a custom function, but I'll get to that. But everything happens through the function, so I'll just write a constructor here. And if you kind of look at the syntax, it looks more like TypeScript, and that's kind of intentional. We wanted to give easier interface for the developers, so that would improve the experience. And yeah, so inside of the constructor, we'll need to assign the ID to the public key. And the way in which you can do that is context.public key, which would return us the uh, public key into the ID. And one thing you have to remember here is always use the semicolons at the end of each each line. And we also would define the public key so that we can use it for permissioning stuffs. And in this example, so the ID is a string, ID is in the string format, but the public key is in the public key format. So we just convert it into a string using .2 hex, and we should be good. If in case we are not getting the ID, we just have to throw an error. The public key just have to throw an error which says public key, then give an error. You need to sign the transaction, right? This is the basic collection, guys. And I just replicated the user collection. I'm taking this off now. So this is the user collection, and next comes the NFT collection. And in the NFT collection, we have defined a string, and we have defined the owner, and we've also given the owner access to the user. So this is something really cool in about Polybase, where you can use the collection or record in another collection or a record, right? And guys, I think my 1 second. I'll just hide my thing. My bandwidth is a bit low, so I'll just stop sharing my camera. Yeah. So you can still see my screen, I hope. Yeah.
Yeah, I can still
And
see your screen.
yes, perfect. And again, you can just define the constructor for that, which is ID, which is in the type string owner, and you can give the user. And this is just like how you would instantiate a class in TypeScript, right? So this dot ID is equal to ID. That's an NFT collection. And then you come to the chat collection. You create a ID, which is string, and create a name, and you create a members field, which is gated through the NFT. It's like we don't care who the user is. We just care if he holds the specific NFT, and then he has access to the chat, right? And similar way you define the constructor for that under that. And finally, we have a collection message, right? Which is again, you have an ID, a message, a timestamp, and you take the chat gated from the chat, the previous collection, right? And you again write the constructor. And in the chat collection, I've written add member. This is what I was saying, the custom functions. This is similar to Solidity, where you can write custom functions, and this can be any kind of code inside of those functions, right? So I've just written a simple function which is to add member inside of the chat. And I just gave us a small rule which states that if the length of the members, I mean the number of people in the chat, is greater than 5, don't allow, or otherwise just push the member into the chat based on the NFT they hold, right? So that's that color, that rule. And finally, we've set the collections, we've set the fields, everything is done. So now who has access to chat? Who has access to message? How do you define that? And we define that in Polybase using directive or annotations, right? So in the chat, so in the message, it's kind of a hierarchy, right? Who has access to a particular message? What we do is we kind of like delegate that permission level to the chat. And so anyone who has access to a chat has access to the message. We again kind of delegate that permissions to the NFT owner, right? The NFT owner. So whoever is the owner of that NFT has the NFT, and if he has the NFT, he has access to the chat, and if he has access to the chat, he has access to the message. So that's how it kind of works hierarchically. And we've got 4 collections here, and I've already saved it, so it's all done. But if you're saving a new collection, as Sid showed, it will ask you to sign a request, and once you sign the request, this collection would be saved, and your SDK code would be here, which we can just have it here, copy it, and now let's go to a terminal. And the way in which you can install our SDK is yarn add. Sorry guys, yarn add polybase /client. We need add polybase.
Is there any chance you can zoom in a bit on the text? It's a little bit small to see here.
Yes, sure.
Can you increase the font size or?
1 second, Matt. Trying it out. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you.
No worries. You got it. Add polybase /react and add polybase /authentication. Right. So, okay. Add polybase /client is to interact with any of your backend, which you've got, any of your clients like vanilla JavaScript or Vue, and React is just to give a set of helpers which we can use inside of Polybase, and authentication is for making the login process a bit, wallets and login process easier. I'm just installing all of those, and I also have the code ready. So this is basically a front end made using Chakra provider, and it's a very basic front end. The main idea here is to show you how to integrate Polybase with this front end, right? So the first thing which we'll be doing is I'll be importing the authentication that we just added now. Import auth from. I hope this code screen is clear, Matt, or do you want me to zoom in on this as well?
I mean, if you can go in a little bit, yeah. I mean, it's not too bad, but if you can go in a little bit, that'll be helpful. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, thanks.
Cool. And we'll just import add polybase /client. Sorry, add polybase /auth. And once you have imported the auth, you have to define the auth. Auth equal to auth. So in this, I've got a sign-in function separately for this. I'm going to define the authentication here for the application. I'm going to define a result in which I will be guys. Yeah, await auth dot sign in, and it should be set. It's as simple as that. And now, so we need to, as I said earlier, we need to find a way in which we'll get the public key. The public key would usually be in this result when you're signing in. But if in case you're not getting the public key through that, you'll have to, find a way to do that, get the public key from the message that is being signed. So I'm just writing a small let public key to rest dot public key, which will usually be in the result. But if not, you'll have to find a way to get the public key, and I'll tell you how to do that. So we'll just write a small function here to get the public key. Function get public key function, and can give any message here. I'm just giving login with chat, which is already given. And now is the signature, and from the signature, and for using this get public key, we have another library which we need to install. That would be yarn add polybase /eth, which kind of makes it easier to work with any Ethereum related signatures that we get from the MetaMask. And wait .eth personal, we'll just have to import it here. ETH personal, and you get it. Yeah. And await dot ETH personal sign, and we'll pass in the message. Yeah, and we'll just return ETH key with the signature and the message. And this is how you get the public key, and you just put it inside of the sign-in function once you get the public key. Key equals wait dot get public key function. Just call the function and you can get the public key. And yeah, that should be good. And one more thing is, once we have done this, we have to set logged in as cool. That's done. And now what we have to do is we have to navigate to our Explorer. We had this client initiation code. Just copy this code and paste it here. Just make sure your auth is on the higher level. Yeah. And once you're done with that, let's now create a user. We'll first have to check if the user already exists. If not, let's create the user. Wait. And put the user. So check if the way in which you can check is you can check the record and you can check the public key, because that's unique to any user. And once .get, if in case it's there, just don't create a new user. If not, we can create a new user, which can be done through db.collection, name of the collection, and create. This will create the user, and we're not passing in anything inside because if you look at the code, collection code here, we don't have any fields which we have defined inside the constructor for the user, so we don't have to pass anything. But if there are, like for NFTs, we have passed an ID and an owner, so we have to pass in the parameters inside of the create array. But as for the user, you don't need to do that. And yeah, so that's done. Now we have to add so you need to also tell Polybase how you want to sign the request, right? So I'll write a db.signer function. Don't worry guys, this is all there, everything is there exactly in the docs. You just have to copy paste, right? So yeah, async, and we get the data as a string, and return. This is the ETH personal sign-in, which is which is there in the docs directly. You can just copy paste. It's just our way of signing in. Pass the message. Or and now we have to create the mint NFT functionality, which is already here. You just have to create the NFT thingy, just like how we created the user just now. Give the NFT name. Create. Matt, I'm running out of time. 3, 4, 5 minutes. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure thing. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, sure.
Let's see.
Yeah.
This is good.
Yeah. Thank
we
you.
can't we can't stop you now, right? We got to see how this ends. This is
Yeah.
good.
Exactly. I'm almost there. Yeah, almost there. But you let me know if you want to end. I have a code ready. I can show the demo, right? So yeah.
No, that's okay. Keep going. You're the last talk of this series today, so we don't have anybody else up after you.
Thank you so much.
So keep going.
Thank you so much. Yes. Okay. And I'm just giving the NFT. So if you look at the NFT collection, there are two main parameters, which is the ID and the owner. And for the owner, we pass in the public key, and for ID, we pass in the NFT ID, which is you get it through. Sorry. When we log in the front end, we get a placeholder where we fill in the value, and it takes that value, which is the NFT ID, right? And for getting the public key, it's you have to get the user collection and get the record public key. Yeah, and we haven't defined the public key, so I'm just defining this public key inside of this function where we use the get public key function. And okay, we're almost done. The final thing we would have to do is so in the public key. So we talked about getting the public key, right? And getting the public key, the value which is the public key which is posted to the explorer and the public key which is passed on, there is a small difference. One is 64 bits and one is 65 bits. So a small arrangement, what we can do there is go to the public key function. Yeah, go to the public key function and just once of returning this, we'll just save this as the key and return so a 0x would be added and a digit 4. I can show you the result. There's a video, clean video in this, which you can revisit again. But for time constraints, I'm not showing that process. But there'll be a bit extra in the public key, which is signed in the Explorer. So we're just taking care of it by slicing off the public key, slicing off one bit from the public key, right? And almost done. Now, another thing that is worth noting is that each time you refresh the page, you get logged out and you have to sign in again, and you have to log in again. So if you want to take that off, you can use effect, which is you have the code directly in the Polybase docs. I'm just typing it out here, and I just paste it for the time being. Yeah. Cool. And one more thing is signer. Okay, we added the signer. Nice. And we just have to import the React library. We have imported the React library. We just have to import it here. And do it using use collection from Polybase React. Yes, guys, I think I should be able to show you a demo showing a few errors. For the time being, it's the same code, but there is few things that needs to be changed, I guess. But yeah, cool. I'm saving this. Now let's go to chats, refreshing this page. This is the front end. I will log out once. Cool. I haven't set the logout. Let's stop it. Start it again. Yeah, second, it's loading. Yeah, it just the first initial time it loads, it takes some time, guys. Sorry for that. It will just be there in a moment. Yeah, it's there. Okay, it's showing me logged in. It usually used to ask for a login, but I'm trying to mint an NFT here. Just an FVM Dataverse test create. It'll ask you to sign the transaction, and once you've signed the transaction, you can navigate to the Explorer. And once you go to the Explorer, you should see the NFT here. This is the place where you can see all your tables, all your collections, all the read requests come here. And obviously based on the permissions that you create, you would be able to read or write the data which you have been given permission to. And yeah, that's basically the chat app, guys. The first thing is to create the collection, install the libraries, and play around with our docs a bit, and code out as to which functionalities you want to use. It's mainly authentication, storing data, and dynamic NFT, as Sid mentioned. and you can build a lot of cool applications. We have a YouTube. So from the last hackathon, we reached out to all the people who used Polybase and built applications, and we've made a video of different applications that can be built or using Polybase, and that's in the Polybase YouTube channel. You can refer to that as well. And yeah, guys, that's pretty much from my end. Thank you. It was a good.
That was great. Thank you very much, Shaki and Sid
Yes.
there for that. That was great. Great there. So
Yes.
yeah, and we've got some of the links in the chat here as well for Polybase.
Yeah.
So and also yeah, some of the personal Twitter accounts. So that's great. Thanks a lot. Brilliant. Thanks a lot then, Shaki, and thanks to everybody who has tuned in for this series of talks. And so yeah, I believe I can't remember. I think we've got one more, I believe, tomorrow. Is that I think we've got Axler coming on tomorrow. I think it's just the one presentation tomorrow. Carlene in the chat will probably correct me on this because she knows more what's going on than me with the scheduling. So yeah, but thank you everybody for tuning in. And again, if you need help, have a look on the IPFS Discord channel, which is where we are running all of the mentorship for this program. So thanks a lot. And yes, we will see you tomorrow.
Cheers. Bye-bye.